World's loneliest frog might get a happy ending after one new discovery. We've already lost the dodo, the quagga, and the Jarvan tiger. Recently, even the western black rhino met its end. Species are going extinct more than twice as fast as scientists discover new ones. So it's now more important than ever that we try our very best to preserve those who remain. With no mates left for him, one little Bolivian frog was doomed to be the last survivor of his species. But then one team of biologists, true Shakespearean romantics deep down in their hearts, hatched a matchmaking plan to find him a love connection that could very well save an entire species. Once upon a time, in the deep dark corners of the Bolivian rainforest, lived a Sewenkes water frog with a wide brown body, big green eyes, and an orange chest holding an empty heart. He was alone. He had been for a very, very long time. There, from the tropical freshwater marsh, he was captured by scientists who had never laid eyes on one of his kind before. To further study him, they brought the fat-bellied frog back to their labs. Ever since that day, the frog had been living in the Cochabamba Natural History Museum, where he was given the name Romeo. The question for the lonely frog was this: would he ever find one true love? Or would love be a smoke made with the fume of sighs? See, at first, researchers and frog experts assumed that Romeo was the very last Sewenkes water frog remaining on Earth. After all, his habitat had been greatly affected by deforestation and climate change. But both the researchers and Romeo refused to give up hope. Their new goal for the next decade was to find him a Juliet. If the two got along, he would no longer be lonely, and if they really got along, they might be able to repopulate the Sewenkes species. For the scientists, boosting the frog population was a beneficial goal in more ways than one. They'd save another species from extinction, further study these little guys, and restore balance in the delicate ecosystem of the Amazon rainforest. Thus, the biologists got to work. They searched endlessly throughout the forest and even created a profile for Romeo on Match.com. Still, for an entire decade, one remained the loneliest number. Zoologist Teresa Camacho then led a frog search expedition in December of 2018. She and her team would stick their hands into creeks and feel for water frogs since the creatures can't easily be spotted underwater. "We were tired, wet, and disappointed," said Camacho, who believes that contaminated waterways, on top of all other habitat changes, have driven the Sewenkes water frog close to extinction. Then I said, "Let's do one more creek." Suddenly, Camacho and her team heard a tiny splash and noticed some movement in the water. They reached for the creature right away, but alas, it was an entirely different species of frog. However, not all hope was lost. That frog jumped away, leading the team to a tiny waterfall. There, underneath the stream of a little crashing wave, researchers saw a brown frog with big green eyes and an orange belly. Unfortunately, this frog would not be Romeo's partner in repopulating the species. While this little fella could have been a great company to the museum loner, he was a male. Still, this meant that there were more Sewenkes out there. There was still hope to finding Romeo a Juliet. The next day, the crew returned to the creek one more time, and bingo, they managed to catch 4 more frogs, 2 males and 2 females. While 3 of them were too young to reproduce, 1 female was exactly the right age. Now all they needed was some chemistry. Although Romeo found no luck in online dating, this adult female could very well be the one. Could his life of isolation finally be over? It was a tough call because she had a completely opposite personality from Romeo's. Romeo is really calm and relaxed and doesn't move a whole lot. Camacho Badini told BBC, "Juliet," she said, "was really energetic. She swims a lot and she eats a lot, and sometimes she tries to escape." On Valentine's Day of 2019, the two love frogs would be set up on their very first date, in hopes of procreating and saving their entire species. No pressure though, right? If their personalities weren't compatible, the looks could be all they needed. She has beautiful eyes, Alcaide d'Orbigny museum director Ricardo Cespedes said about Juliette, who was quarantined until lab tests came back. Scientists needed to make sure she was free of the dangerous chytrid fungus known to have killed entire frog populations before she met Romeo. Otherwise, she could have done much more harm than good. Romeo was actually quite shy, didn't swim much, and was a little overweight. But that could change. We'll have to provide some sort of current to get him a little more exercise, Camacho said. If Romeo didn't get kissed and turned into a prince, there were always a few other solutions. The biologists could attempt an in vitro fertilization or rely on the younger frogs to breed when they were ready. The Bolivian Museum of Natural History has previously succeeded in preserving the rare Titicaca frog, so if anyone was up to saving the Sehuencas, it was these well-trained experts. Now all there was left to do was wait for Valentine's Day to see whether the Montague-Capulet romance would bloom. At least for now, Romeo no longer has to live in solitude, and there's going to be one less lonely frog. When the two finally met, they hit it off. Romeo has been really sweet to Juliette, following her around the aquarium and sacrificing his worm meals for her, said the museum's chief of herpetology, Teresa Camacho Badani. After he's been alone for so long, it's wonderful to see him with a mate, finally,